Hello fishing friends, and if you're new here, welcome! Well, this morning I did a little fishing with DocCincy. He is the person that came up with the fish buffet method for catching sharks, and he helped me catch my first great white. Well, the plan was I was going to get all this footage between the two of us and stitch it all together and come up with one epic video for you all. And well, all of my footage was corrupted. So, luckily, Doc had plenty of footage. He recorded the whole thing. So he was able to give me his footage, and I was able to use his footage and what little bit that I could salvage from mine to create a good video for you guys. So I hope you enjoy it, and let's get started. Let's meet Doc. Today I have a special guest here. I have DocCincy. Hi, Doc.
Hey.
And he has a special method called the fish buffet method that he uses for catching sharks. And I thought I'd introduce him today and bring him on the show so that he could show us how to do this method to help you guys catch sharks and to help me catch my first great white. Because as you can see by looking in my tank here, I don't have a great white. So, Doc, why don't you tell us a little bit about your fish buffet method?
Okay, so I like doing a lot of experiments and just trying to figure things out in the game. Never really focused on sharks before. So how I ended up coming up with this method, I was trying to determine, do sharks take the medium-sized fish more frequent than they take the large fish? We know they won't take a huge fish, so I was fishing on hard and purposely just catching, medium fish over and over and recording, how many casts it took before I would hook a shark, and did the same thing with the large fish. When I'm saying medium and large, that's the reference to, their classification within the game. So a medium fish in saltwater on the fish finder won't have any fins. A large fish will have one fin, and a huge fish will have two. So, I just caught a bunch of the no fins and, tracked how frequently sharks took those. And then I was catching the larger ones, the one fin fish, and doing the same. And did notice, there is a drastic difference in which ones the sharks will take. They will take those medium fish at a much, much higher rate. And then, so when I was doing this in the case of, what if I hooked a huge fish, I would just quick release it. So I didn't, have to spend the 2 minutes bringing it in. And then that led me to thinking, well, why don't I do that with any fish that I know is not going to yield a shark? I've caught all the fish in the game on the first day it came out, so I don't really care what fish I catch if I'm out just throwing lines out. So that's how I came up with the fish buffet method. And then I started on 16, and I was just looking for groups of the medium fish together. So if my cast was a little bit off, I'd have a little leeway because I looked at all the levels and what fish were available. And 16, just the way the fish are and the way they group, you're going to get your best, little pockets of those fish all together. And then I started, looking at the bait colors. How do the fish change with the bait colors? And then, I've got baits that I'll use to, so I learned, which fish I was catching. And then I narrowed it down to the fish that the sharks seem to catch most, and that is any of the medium-sized bass species that are in saltwater. So those are the fish I target now. And so knowing what I know about sharks, if a fish runs 2 times, a shark won't take it anymore. The fish I'm catching over and over don't jump, so the second part doesn't apply. But if a fish jumps on its way in, a shark won't take it anymore. So I started, just quick releasing any fish after it ran twice. And then, I got to the point where I got pretty good at casting and targeting. So, I'm just cast out, hook the fish, reel it in until it moves twice, no shark after the second move, quick release, and just keep doing that over and over and over. And it yields a shark. I don't have enough data on 17, 18, and 19, but on 16 and 20, I am averaging about a shark every 10 minutes, 6 sharks per hour. Since I started recording, my best hour has been 10. I have had an hour where I only had 1. So, you're still up against the random number generator, but in general, because you're not reeling the fish all the way in and you're targeting only the fish sharks take, you are improving your odds of getting a shark on the line and then decreasing the time in between potential shark casts.
So I suppose you go through a lot of bait?
I do go through a lot of bait, and I don't replace it till it runs out. I just don't keep up with it. And then since I float fish, I don't know how long it takes to use up a bobber, but I do run out of bobbers as well, or floats.
So you do? You buy like about 100 at a time? And
yeah, well, the baits you can do 10 at a time. So yeah, like 100, 150. And then the bobbers, I think you can only do 1 at a time, but those don't run out that much.
All right. Well, I say we go out and do a little fishing.
Let's do 16 first so I can try and show somebody what I would look for there, because the fish do group up a little better. And overall, you have more on 16. So whether they're grouped up or not, you do have more targets. So we'll throw a couple lines out there just for demonstration, and then we'll move to 20 to try to get the great white. All right. So like I said, going to be fishing on hard. And I am going to give up if people who are watching my videos haven't figured it out yet. So like I said, I target those bass species, and it's really the spotted sand bass. So I will give up my trade secret here on how I isolate those fish. So I'm pulling up my fish finder now, and with the grasshopper on, I am looking for a green fish of medium, so no fins, a green fin fish with the grasshopper, and then I'm going to switch one right to the worm to check to see if that fish is still green, and this one is. I'm going to fish with the grasshopper, though, because with the grasshopper, almost all the rest of the fish on the fish finder are red, so you can eliminate those from potential miscatches that you don't want. And so there's only one on my screen now, but I wanted to come here because one, it generally has more of these medium fish, and sometimes you'll get 3 of these green ones together in the same little plop, and I have not seen that on any of the other levels that I do this on. So they're out a couple casts, so my cast's still just not going straight. Let me recenter my screen.
I have terrible issues with my cast going straight as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So what I try to do is, pick a something physical to aim at, and aim at that. But mine are still just a little wacky. So and it seems like normally once I kind of land one right on the fish I'm looking for, so this one should be pretty close. It takes a couple casts, and then I can, kind of rapid fire and keep landing it on that one fish once I am able to find it pretty easily. So I see where mine is. Not much to aim at on this board as far as casting goes. So,
out there.
but I know we're on. I picked 16 to try to show a little pocket, and then I guess we'll do the majority of our fishing on 20. So I'm going to throw this out a couple times, and then I'm just going to go through, kind of the refresh process for people who don't know what we're talking about sometimes when we talk about resetting or refreshing our fish. I don't know if you've covered that in your videos before. Well, you have to, because you've done the...
Yep.
with the...
a lot with the epics.
Yeah, a lot with the epics. Lots of refresh. All right. So normally I would just keep fishing this fish for about 10 minutes. If I'm fishing the same one a little bit over 10 minutes or so, I'll do a refresh. So I'm just going to refresh here to try to see if I can find that pocket that I'm talking about. And then, so here's another one of my fish. So if I were going to fish this, I move right one to the worm, and this one did turn yellow, so I know that's not my spotted sand bass. That's how I tell the difference. So I would not go after this fish anyway. I'm still going to refresh a couple more times and see if I can... Okay, so here's a pocket of 2 right there. And... 1 second. My bait keeps switching. This is so touchy. So there's my pocket of 2 there. One of them is a spotted... Or not a spotted sand bass. It's the kelp bass. The one that turns yellow. And those will yield sharks. Just not as frequent as the spotted sand bass I've found. So I'll throw a couple more out at this little pocket of 2. I think the best pocket I've ever had is 4, and right on top of each other. And that's really nice because when you catch one, you've got 3 more, and you're already kind of honed in on that being a target spot for your casts. So normally I'm looking for 2 to 3 on here, and that the only reason I do that, it has nothing to do with catching a shark. Fishing where there are multiple fish, I've not found any correlation between that and catching a shark. It's just so if your cast misses, you've got a little leeway with the other fish in the area. That's the only reason I started looking for those groups of fish, and it really only works on this board anyway. I never get those pockets, or very rarely get those pockets on 20, and on the rest of the levels, I've done this a little hit or miss. Nothing with the time frame that I've done on 16 and 20, but I've never seen them group up like they will on this one. So after I pull this one in, I'll be ready to switch whenever you are to 20, since we're really after great whites. And
all right.
They definitely seem to have a higher frequency there.
I think I just had a great white on here just a second ago.
Oh no, you had a shark on?
I did.
Goodness.
It was one of those that jumped on and then jumped right off type thing.
So that 90% of the time, if that happens, that is because the fish you were reeling in, you'd already reeled it into the red. Your line was red at the time the shark takes it, and the majority of the time, if your line is red, when the shark gets on your line's going to break. That's going to cause that shark to just jump right up right after it takes your line.
Oh.
Well, there we go. So I've got one. Sixgill.
Nice.
So, and that issue that I just described, they've actually lowered some settings, it seems, to help with that, because it's not happening as much anymore. So we had, when the leaderboard was super competitive and I was doing my derby competitions, people were trying to figure out, how to reel in fish the, absolute fastest. So, instead of stopping reeling when your fish was fighting right and left, we were, reeling through those fights, just to the point of keeping the line from breaking, and we called it redlining. And it did seem like you could bring in the fish a little bit faster doing that method. So when this update came, and those the sharks now will break the line if your line is red when it takes it, we were losing sharks right and left. Well, not losing them, they weren't, we weren't getting a chance to reel them in. And then we figured out it's because now if your line is in that red state when a shark takes your line, odds are that shark is just going to jump off and you'll never get a chance to reel it. And one tip I give to a lot of people, and some kind of scoff at it, like, well, I'm not going to do that to catch a shark. I recommend going back to beginner, even if you've caught a few already. And you can use this method on beginner, and you're just looking for if you've got the grasshopper, really any fish that is green with the grasshopper is going to be a medium fish. So for me, it's harder to tell, which ones they are with their spread out with the, sightseeing glasses on. But switch to hard, and catch some sharks, or switch to beginner, or normal, and use that reeling menu that comes up that helps you bring the fish in. And because if you keep that, that white bar that moves back and forth, if you keep that out of the blue and out of the red for the most part, that shark is always going to eventually come in, as long as you're winning the left and right fights. You can miss the majority of your snaps, but if you're reeling correctly, a lot of the fish are going to snap themselves, you'll find. So, and get used to how it feels, and get used to seeing how your line color changes, and you'll get used to I fish by feel more than I fish by the line color now. I fished for probably 4 months without line color, and got to the point where I enjoy no line color more than line color. But it is nice with the fish being a little more finicky now and a little less likely to bite than the Korea version of the game before the update started. All right. So on here, you don't need to worry about any of the fish being the wrong fish. So if you've got the grasshopper on, you are always going to have the spotted sand bass if you have a medium green fish.
Oh, yeah. Got one right away. Cool.
And then you can adjust for the water depth. It'll be top or mid. And I just leave mine set at top because it's green color. So even if it's mid, it's still going to have a strong attraction, and it might take you an extra 4 seconds before it actually takes your bait. So not that big of a deal. Because I found a lot of times when you do the quick retrieve anyway, if you have your line set at mid or bottom, when you do that quick retrieve, the thumbstick kind of bounces itself back up, and it you don't even pay attention, and now you're not fishing at the lower depths. It zinged it back all the way to shallow for you. So I just leave mine on shallow because this fish is never deep water. And I prefer the ones that I have to cast my line all the way out on. That way, one, you're always going to overcast them just a little bit. You don't have that far to reel it in until you're on top of that fish. And then the fish that are close can be a pain to try to cast on top of them. We call it short casting. Short casting is kind of a pain. It seems to go errant a lot, or just ends up casting way further than you're planning. So I do like them more out towards the end of my fish finder.
Well, especially if you have rod A's. You cast way out there.
Yeah. Yes.
So I think last I looked, your great white was 5th on the leaderboard.
Down to 5th now?
I think it was on 5th, yeah.
Okay. Last time I looked, it was 3rd. I was just glad that when it did hold number 1, that actually had it on video. And I wasn't out 2 video sharks that day. And I can't remember if I started it because it was a great white, or I started it mid-catch because it just looked like it was big. But then that was replaced the next day. I don't know how long it'll be before that top 10 kind of is full of fish that it's going to really take a big one to get into. There we go. There's a great white.
There you go.
I'm going to call this maybe somewhere in the 215 to 220 range, maybe. Another thing I discussed in one of my videos yesterday, I think it was not the Facebook Live, it was the earlier one of the 1 hour. So some people do ask about, why do some sharks seem to run a lot farther when you hook them? And I can explain that. So the sharks, when they take the fish off your line, they swim back as far out as that fish was. They don't swim to the same exact spot necessarily, but they do swim out. So if you started, if your fish was 100 feet out when you hooked it, and then it was 50 feet in when the shark came on, that shark is going to run back out to that 100-foot range. So that's what determines how far a shark swims. So if you've brought that fish, in really close to you because it was a fish that just didn't fight much or didn't, run twice, then that shark is going to appear to go way out there. And that has no impact on how long it takes you to bring a shark in. So fish have life values assigned to them. We don't know what they are, but we do know there are life values, and you can't bring a fish out of the water until you have depleted its life value. So if this shark is all the way across the map, it is going to come in at a rate in tandem with its life value dropping. So if it's way far out there, it's going to appear to come towards you faster, because it's going to take less time before the game says, hey, you can bring this out of the water. If you hook a shark and it is very close to you, that shark is not going to appear to move very much, because you still have to deplete that life value, but it's going to take place within that distance of where that shark is. So since it's going to cover a very short physical span, it just seems like it's kind of stuck in the water in front of you for a long time. So that's why that happens. And this definitely seems to be the best level for great whites so far, from the data I've pulled.
So how many great whites do you think you have?
I don't know. I've not kept up. Mid-20s probably. 214. I was almost right on the nose. I think I said 215 to 220.
All right, let him go so I can go catch him. Sweet.
Yep, there you go. And for people who heard that, that is not possible. You can't catch somebody else's fish. So a lot of people don't know. I don't know if you've covered it in your video. So I have, the fish I see on my fish finder are my 15 fish. The VR fisherman has 15 different fish of his own. We are not fishing for the same fish. So a lot of people don't realize that.
You go ahead and bring up your fish finder.
Okay. So
we'll take a look. So yeah.
Yep. So you should have a green one on yours right now. So I just refreshed it. I have no green. So, my fish are completely different from your fish. So we are not competing for the same fish. That is something that, a lot of people think is the case, and that is not the case. And then when you catch a fish, it's always replaced by another fish. So you always have 15 fish available. There we go. So that was almost back to back. So that was great white, and I think that was my second or third cast. There's 2 quick hits. That one. That should probably be a good little part of the video, that little stretch right there.
Yeah.
I remember back in the early days when I was still, kind of a beginner, because my mind always works and, how can I do something better? How can I do it faster? So, I was talking to, people who played the game forever, and, the old adage, until we started using data to try to predict things, was, there's nothing you can do to speed up, catching a shark. It's random, and it's just always going to be random, which I believe it is random. Every single time, the game rolls the dice on whether or not, a shark might take your bait. I was like, there's got to be a way to improve it. And then, like I said, sharks were never really my thing. I just really fish to fish and do research and, figure stuff out, like the color codes and all that. And it really wasn't until I started to collect the shark data that I realized, hey, if I target just the fish, and then, I thought, well, if I know a shark's not going to take it, I just release it and I can keep catching it. So like I said back in your lodge, that's really how I came up with this. I wasn't looking at that point. I wasn't doing a project to see, can I catch sharks faster? I was just doing a project to determine, do sharks take the medium fish more than large fish? And in that, to help, speed up that data collection, is how I, correlated, well, hey, I think I'm on to a way to actually decrease the amount of time and improve your odds on sharking.
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
Yeah. Gosh, I miss so many snaps when I fish and talk. I know some people who won't even talk when they've got a shark on, and I get it, especially if you're, still trying to catch your first however many.
Right.
But
concentrating, trying to not miss your snaps and all that.
But without a doubt, if you do not want to use, some people just refuse to fish on hard with the fish finder. So if you're looking to use this method without the fish finder, and you're just playing on expert and taking what you get, if you're after just sharks, I would do this on 16. Because just the setup of fish there, you're just gonna get more sharks, blind sharks. The fish, this method here, is going to improve those odds no matter where you are, because you're always catching the fish the shark take. But if you want, more fish in the water that a shark will take versus fewer fish with just random fish assigning, it's going to be on 16 without a doubt.
Yeah.
So I can't believe how many updates they've got planned for this. I was thinking about it because I wanted to start my fishing derbies back up. But I don't want to do a fishing derby near, a release, because people have to, learn and get used to whatever they're releasing. So, my last derby was October, because I didn't want to do one with the new mechanics. And then I wasn't expecting this to come out so fast after the new mechanics. So obviously they had two teams of people working on this at once. Obviously one team was doing the mechanics while the other team was doing all this stuff for the new maps.
There we go.
Looked like a Bluntnose.
Yeah.
So then these came out. So I didn't want to do a derby with the new maps having just come out. So I'm going to try for one in March. But I don't know how soon the US East, which I think is going to be their next release. So we got US East, and then they've got fly fishing. I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know if fly fishing is going to be part of a new release. So I'm hoping to maybe squeeze a derby in March, because they're fun and they're quick, and then I definitely think they're going to revamp the leaderboard somehow. And then they've got that competition mode, which I was talking to those people last night while I was doing that Facebook Live. Our thoughts on what the possibilities could be and what we thought should be there, and I'm very interested to see how that works.
Yeah, these updates were too quick for me. Because, I had my channel kind of went stale there for a bit, and then, they came out with the Fish It Your Way, and I was like, oh,
right.
cool, I got some content that I could do again. And then immediately, right after that, they had the US West come out, and I was like, man, I can't catch up.
Right. So
plus
with
the spreadsheets.
Yeah, so when you were doing all the lure combinations for just, all the fish in the game, and not just the epics and rares, did you sit and reason that all out yourself, or did you reach out to MirageSoft and get their color codes?
No, I sat there and
oh my goodness,
for hours and hours.
You should have reached out to MirageSoft first. They might have, for the non-rare and epic, well, epics don't show up anyway. They might have given that to you if you let them know, hey, I'm doing this to help out, the fans. It's available. It's available in the game. It's no secret. You just have to learn what fish you're looking at and then switch through the stuff. So it's not like it's a secret or anything. They might have sent it to you. There you go. Is that a great white?
It is.
Nice.
And my recording had just stopped too.
Oh, goodness.
I'm glad I noticed my red light was gone. And my first great white, and I'm not recording it. Man, he is huge out in the water, isn't he? Wow. Yeah. They're massive.
I almost reeled in my bait fish watching your... So the further out they are, the bigger graphic they use. Because if it was small, you'd hardly see it. So you'll notice as you bring that fish in, I discussed this a little bit on the Facebook page in a different thread. It's actually going to get smaller looking as it comes in. So the further out it is, the bigger graphic they use, and then they adjust that down, which, some people argue, well, it should be different. And you're right. You would think it would be, the closer it gets, the bigger it appears to you. But that's just not the case, because if they had it keep getting bigger from the size it was when you hooked it way far out, it would take up your whole screen by the time it got close to you. So that's why it's reverse of what a lot of people think it should be.
I don't have the red light. I don't think it's recording.
Oh, no. Well, I will try to look. So I'll watch yours. Well, I've got one. Dueling great whites. Holy smokes.
You got a great white as well?
Yep.
Awesome.
So I wasn't even looking at my line. I was trying to watch your video for you since you thought you were having a recording issue. So mine looks big as well. I'm going to put this one in that 215. I'm going to go I'm going to up it. I'm going to say 220 to 230 on this one based on that last one being 215. So this will make for really great video. I hope we can get them. Hope they'll kind of play nice and be in the same frame here.
I'll slow down.
Yeah. Well, this will also be a good contrast. This is perfect. So when we get... Well, I've got it on mine, too, because I'm recording. So I've tried to explain to people that the fish are different sizes to the observer and the catcher.
Right.
So on where my fish looks really, really big, your fish looks really small to me, and it's a standard graphic to the observer. So the observers always see the same size fish, no matter how big it is. You could have the biggest great white in the world, and it's going to look the same size to me the whole time. I can't tell it's any bigger than any other great white. That was perfect. They jumped awesome. At the same time. There we go. And that is a great video now. Now they're just in tandem back and forth. I did hook mine like a minute after you. Don't let me bring it in before you. Another couple good
slowing
jumps.
Down so that we could bring them in together.
Yeah. So this is perfect to display that phenomenon that people just have a hard time understanding it when I try to explain it to them. So this is actually perfect. This couldn't have worked out better. Probably a good place to finish up the video and conversation. I'm getting hungry.
All right, I think mine's in the no jump zone here. Looks like yours is getting closer.
Yeah. I think I am out of jumping. Nope, one more. There we go.
I got mine sitting here.
All right. So we can bring them in at the same time?
Yep.
So I'm going 220 to 230 for my guess on mine. Could be way off. All right, ready?
Yep.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
Oh,
So DocCincy and VR Fisherman. 233 for mine, 247 for you. So I was right on again. So the more you catch, the easier it is to, predict what size they're going to be. I remember when I first started playing, I was amazed when I was catching my sharks that people could tell me their size. And one, like I just showed you here or told you here, and we caught it in the video, the sharks to the observer don't change sizes. You can't tell. Like I said, so that was a very big shark for you, for anybody, a 247.
Yeah.
But to me, that could have been, a 188 great white, and it would have looked exactly the same. But there's a standard size for makos and tigers back in the day. So almost all the tigers were, 121. So odds are if you were going to catch a tiger, it'd be 121. So, when I would catch these sharks, people would be like, oh, it's probably around 121, 125. And me not knowing, I'm like, man, how could they know that? Because it's the standard size. I guarantee if you could look at all of the sizes of your tiger sharks you've ever caught, I bet 70% of them are 121 or really close. But it has nothing to do with what you're seeing for the observer. Now, the person catching the fish can tell if it's big or not, because there are different fish graphics based on size. But for the observer, it's just a stock graphic.
Well, there you go. There was the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I had a great time this morning fishing with Doc, and glad I got my great white, and I was looking forward to catching it. And thanks to his fish buffet method, I think I'm going to be able to catch a lot more. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you haven't done so yet, join our Facebook fan page. It's awesome. There's a bunch of awesome people out there, including DocCincy. He's one of the people out there that helps everybody. So come on out there and join us. So thanks for watching. And if you haven't done so already, leave a like and subscribe. Have a great day. Bye-bye.